They said what? The cyborg leader's voice crackled with disbelief as it echoed through the command center. The alien cyborgs, a hybrid of organic and synthetic life forms, had spent centuries perfecting their martial prowess. Their cold efficiency was unmatched in the galaxy. They had conquered worlds, subjugated entire species, and bent the will of lesser beings to their own. Yet here they stood, confronted by a message from the seemingly primitive race of humans, a species they had barely registered as a threat. "Don't harm our alien friends," the message had said, simple and direct. The humans had not asked. They had not pleaded. They had issued a warning. The cyborg leader, a towering figure of metal and flesh, sneered as best as his reconstructed face could manage. His processors calculated the odds, ran simulations of battle scenarios, and predicted outcomes with terrifying precision. Yet in none of those scenarios did the humans emerge victorious. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and technologically inferior. The cyborgs had seen no reason to fear them, and this warning was almost laughable. "Prepare the fleet," the leader commanded, his voice a cold monotone. "Let's show these humans what happens when you threaten the Borg Krill." As the cyborg ships deployed, a shimmering mass of dark metal and energy, they descended upon the planet that the humans had been defending. A backwater world of no strategic value, but one where a handful of alien refugees had taken shelter. The cyborgs intended to make an example of them, to demonstrate that no one, not even these so-called friends of the humans, would escape their wrath. But as the cyborg fleet neared the planet, the sensors began to detect something unusual. A single human ship had appeared on the periphery, its design crude compared to the sleek, angular lines of the Borg Krill vessels. It was an ancient-looking destroyer, a relic from humanity's early spacefaring days, and it appeared to be unarmed. "Is this some kind of joke?" one of the cyborg officers asked, his synthetic eyes zooming in on the human vessel. The leader did not reply. His focus was on the ship's trajectory. The destroyer was on a direct collision course with the cyborg command ship, yet it made no attempt to evade or slow down. The leader ordered the ship to scan, but there was nothing unusual about it. No energy spikes, no hidden weapons, nothing to suggest it was a threat. "Destroy it," he ordered. The command ship's weapons locked onto the destroyer, energy beams lancing out with deadly precision. But before they could strike, the human ship seemed to flicker, a momentary distortion in space-time that lasted less than a second. And then it was gone. "Where did it go?" the leader demanded, but his question was answered almost immediately. The destroyer had reappeared within the cyborg fleet, now moving at impossible speeds, weaving between the larger ships like a predator among prey. One by one, the cyborg ships began to explode, their shields useless against the sheer kinetic force with which the human vessel struck. "This is impossible," the cyborg officer shouted, his circuits overheating as he tried to process the new data. The leader's eyes narrowed, his organic mind struggling to comprehend what his synthetic side could not. This was no ordinary human technology. The ship was moving faster than their sensors could track, its hull impervious to their weapons. It was as if the humans had somehow tapped into a power beyond their understanding, a force that defied the laws of physics as the cyborgs knew them. "Fall back," the leader ordered, but it was too late. The human ship had already begun its final approach. It sped toward the command ship with reckless abandon, a blazing comet of destruction. The cyborg's last-ditch efforts to stop it were in vain. With a deafening crash, the destroyer slammed into the command ship's core, detonating in a blinding flash of light. The cyborg leader's last thought before his consciousness was extinguished was one of bitter realization. The humans had warned them. They had been told not to harm the aliens, and now, in their arrogance, the Borg Krill had learned too late what that warning truly meant. As the wreckage of the cyborg fleet drifted through the void, the humans emerged victorious. Their single ship had turned the tide of battle, a lone wolf among sheep, proving that in the vastness of the galaxy, underestimating humanity was a fatal mistake. The message had been sent, and it was clear, those who threatened Earth's allies would face a wrath beyond anything they could imagine. And this was only the beginning. The debris field that had once been the Borg Krill fleet now orbited the refugee planet like a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered circuits. Among the wreckage, the solitary human destroyer drifted, its once sleek hull scarred but not broken. It was a victory unlike any the galaxy had seen. But the battle is far from over. On the planet's surface, the alien refugees had watched the battle unfold from their makeshift shelters. They were a diverse group, scattered remnants of civilizations that had been crushed under the Borgkul's relentless advance. To them, the humans had been an enigma, an unpredictable force that had appeared out of nowhere, offering protection with no demands or conditions. Now, they watched as a shuttle descended from the human destroyer, cutting through the planet's atmosphere with a trail of fire. It landed with a heavy thud on the rocky terrain, its hatch opening with a hiss of pressurized air. A single human figure emerged, clad in a suit of advanced combat armor that gleamed under the alien sun. The leader of the refugees, an elder of the Threx species, stepped forward. His people had once been proud warriors, but age and defeat had bent his spine and dulled his once sharp talons. He regarded the human with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "You came," the Threx elder rasped, his voice strained from years of hardship. The human nodded, removing his helmet to reveal a stern, weathered face. His eyes, however, held a warmth that contrasted with the grimness of his appearance. "We said we would," he replied simply. The elder hesitated as if searching for the right words. "We didn't expect that," he admitted, gesturing toward the sky where the last remnants of the Borgkrill fleet still burned in the upper atmosphere. "They underestimated us," the human said, his tone neutral. "And they paid the price." Another alien, a young warrior from the Velian species, stepped forward, his scales glistening in the sunlight. "The Borgkrill have always been unstoppable," he said, his voice tinged with both fear and admiration. "How did you?" The human gazed at him, his expression hardening. "We don't fight like them," he said. "They rely on overwhelming force, on crushing their enemies with numbers and technology. We fight with something else." "And what is that?" the elder asked. "Adaptation," the human replied. "We learn from our enemies. We take what they think makes them strong, and we turn it against them." That's why the Borgkrill didn't stand a chance. The refugees murmured among themselves, their fear slowly giving way to hope. The human had done more than just defeat the Borgkrill. He had shattered the illusion of their invincibility. But even as they began to feel a glimmer of optimism, the human's expression remained guarded. "They'll come back," the human said, cutting through the refugees' whispers. "This was just a small part of their fleet. The Borgkrill don't give up easily." The Threx elder's shoulders slumped, the weight of his people's survival pressing down on him once more. "Then we're still doomed," he said, despair creeping into his voice. "No," the human said firmly. "You're not doomed, not as long as we're here." "But why?" the Velian warrior asked, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Why would you risk so much for us?" "We're not your people." The human turned to face him, his gaze unwavering. "Because you're under our protection. When we make a promise, we keep it, and we promise to protect you." The elder looked up at the human, his eyes searching for any sign of deceit or ulterior motive. But he found none. What he saw instead was resolve, an unshakable belief that no one, not even the mighty Borgkrill, had the right to oppress or destroy those who sought peace. "We cannot repay you," the elder said softly. "We're not asking for payment," the human replied. "But there is something we need from you." The refugees stiffened, wary of what the human might demand. The elder tilted his head, his eyes narrowing slightly. "What is it?" "Your trust," the human said. "The Borgkrill will return, and when they do, we'll need to work together. We'll need to prepare to fortify this planet and defend it with everything we have. That means you'll need to trust us and follow our lead when the time comes." There was a long silence as the elder considered the human's words. Finally, he nodded. "We will do as you ask. We will fight alongside you." The human smiled, though it was a sad, knowing smile. "Good. Then maybe, just maybe, we can hold them off long enough for the galaxy to see what's really at stake here." The Velian warrior stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with newfound determination. "We won't let them take our home again," he said, his voice resolute. The human reached out and clasped the warrior's arm in a gesture of solidarity. "Then let's get to work," he said, "because the fight is far from over,